See, we got company. That'll be Josh's doing, the brat. I told him to leave things be, but I guess he couldn't resist. Anyway, maybe it's just as well you get used to it. I'll fill you in later. Right, mate? See that camera on the table? Strap it to your chest and let me explain what exactly you're here for. There's a lookout tower not far away, so you can head up there and get a sense of the place while I flap my gums. Nice and tight now. Wouldn't want it coming off right when you've got a shot lined up. year-round retreat for hunters like you and Alejandra. So I don't spend most of the year worrying about whether our native plants are going to get overrun by deer again. There's a lot of filmmaking talent out here, and it hasn't been put to good use lately, if you ask me. So we're going to make a commercial? Show the world there's more to New Zealand than haka and halflings. And who better to demonstrate the thrill of the chase than an experienced hunter like yourself? See, our Woodall's prime was back in the 80s. Most of the other hunters out here are equally long-lived too. You need someone young, new, dynamic. You. The camera will do most of the work, so you just have to make sure it's on when you head out to hunt. have a couple of strategic locations on our list to get through. Let's get you that view first. There's the lookout tower, just up ahead. Just take that in. Spectacular, isn't it? This eastern area is all rolling hills and conifers. There's a line of mountains in the centre of the reserve. Oh, and native beech forest. And a lot of rain on the other side. You're not going to be outrunning anything out here, so don't try. Nothing like the mad dash to find your harvest once you have taken it slow and steady, though. Right, so remember Josh's little prank? This place doesn't receive a lot of government funding, unfortunately, and a couple of years ago we were running out of money for field research, and the outposts were in need of sprucing up. So I guess you could say we made a deal with the devil, the Hollywood devil to be exact. My mentor used to tell me that if you don't look like a bit of a wally when you're stalking your prey, you're probably doing it wrong. So pull up those sleeves and get to know the dirt. Long story short, they've just wrapped up filming for the final movie they were contracted to do. Some fantasy thing, shiny blade or shimmering dagger or something. Now let me check. Resplendent sword. I'll send you the blurb they gave me. My nephew tells me it's a big deal, but I'd certainly never heard of it before this. But yeah, as nice as it is that Te Awaroa's beauty is up on the silver screen for all to see, it's come with its share of problems, to say the least. The bigwigs left in a hurry, and we got left with a bunch of basically intact movie sets scattered here and there all over the reserve. Well, I'm telling you all of this because Josh just rang me up and said that he spotted another set on his way back, not far from where I wanted you to try filming your first hunt. Can I trouble you to go clear it out? We can't run the risk of any of the props from the film featuring in our footage. Cheers. I trust you're not just in this for the money. But it doesn't hurt, eh? Get yourself something nice. You deserve it. You know what a track is? Evidence you're not alone out there. Humbling, eh? My hearing your heart was at the murmurings of the forest. You've got all the time in the world out here, you know. Slow down. Become one with the wop-wops. Tricky little fella, eh? If at first you don't succeed and all that, you'll get the next one. They call this the bush for a reason, you know. It's noisy as, though. Plant yourself in vegetation, sure. But don't move around in it when you're closing in on your target. What a mess. If I'd known this was going to happen, I never would have agreed to it. This isn't even the worst of it. Right, let's take it one by one. Just bundle them into crates and I'll get someone to swing by later and transport them out of the reserve. Quite the medieval fair. Looks more than a bit incongruous out here if you ask me. Are those real oranges? Good enough to eat, eh? I hope they didn't have an actual fire in that thing. Imagine if some silly townie kid had wandered over here and decided it would be a good idea. That's the last of them. What's that note? Props list. Foam statue of haughty elf standing proud, 9 foam warriors, 8 golden goblets, 3 green screens. This reads like a Christmas carol. See any of those? Bit dodgy. Townies must have been up here. Well, even though this isn't our mess to clean up, I should probably ask around and see if anyone knows what's happened to the missing props. The last thing we need is to get blamed for this. Maybe they did a very selective sweep. I'll see if anyone has a bigwig's numbers. Thanks for your help, Ihor. Let's move on. They say experience is a great teacher, provided you're willing to heed its lessons. You seem like the sensible type, though. Before you head off and film your hunts, first we've got to set the scene, so to speak. The marketing team's looking for some photos for the reserve website, something to give people a taste of what this place has to offer. Now that we've dealt with that bloody mess, you think you could head over to Lake Wakaiti and snap a few shots for us? There's a willow tree there growing right out of the water that all the influencers or whatever they call themselves go bonkers for. It does make for a good photo op, I'll give it that. Our outposts aren't just sustainable, they're comfortable too. Well worth the trek. Sometimes you've got to make animals think you're on their side. Calling's one way of doing it. But I don't need to tell an experienced hunter like you that planning ahead is most of what a successful hunter's. So take this as more of a gentle reminder. Keep those binoculars handy. This how they hunt where you're from? Right out in the open? It's a brave strategy, I'll give you that. This is one of the hunting spots my mentor used to take me out to. Bound to be something worth stalking in the area. Fallow deer aren't perhaps the most glamorous animal on offer in the reserve, but trophy lovers the world over go mad for those palmated antlers. If you're after one, stay down. You've keen eyesight and flee quickly. Running low. The outposts have ammo of all kinds and more besides. You're making more of a racket out there than a cackling tilly. I won't question your ways, but I prefer the silent approach. If you're wondering why there's no one around, it's because the reserve is officially closed to visitors for the foreseeable future. Indefinitely conducting emergency field research, we said. If that's what it takes to get the day trippers to clear out for a hot minute, so be it. I swear I haven't seen this place so deserted in about 10 years. Ah, it's lovely, actually. Even if I can only experience it through you. We used to camp out here when I was little. Tramp over from the other side. Me and a gaggle of other kids carrying backpacks bigger than our whole bodies. Not much of that lifestyle left these days. I miss it sometimes. Don't fall in now. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened here. That'll do. It's looking well. We had some hern try to saw off one of the branches a few weeks ago. Can you believe? Well, luckily someone managed to talk him out of it. Sometimes wedding parties will have the brides come up and sit on it. Wade right into the water and soak those deer dresses. That tree is 80 years old. Started off as a stray branch nailed to a fence. It's a tribute to tenacity, if you ask me. Right, now for our next destination. Head down to the shoreline. There's a set of huge boulders there that have to be seen to be believed. I know what you're thinking. She's showing me some rocks. But trust me on this one. Our beaches are buzzing with natural activity. At least they used to be. You get more and more rubbish washed up all over the place lately. You know, bits of plastic pellets, runoff from factories further north. I swear I've seen tin cans with Australian brand names. We do our best, but we can't always prevent the poor critters ending up with junk in their bellies. Anyway, that's the situation. I'll get back to you when you arrive. Just gonna head off for a minute and make some tea. isn't my strong suit. But usually when I mess up, it's from failing to heed my mentor Melanie's advice. The patented 4 S's technique. Stay calm, stop, sigh, shoot. Rabbits? Well, you release a handful, within a month you've got an entire underground city. These days a swift dose of 1080 is our preferred approach when they get out of hand. But you're welcome to supplement our efforts. That's better. Nothing like a good old Kiwi herbal blend to sort the head out. Oh, well, look at this. Couldn't help themselves, could they? One last hurrah before we shut the place down. This really can't wait, mate. There's a little blue penguin population nesting not far from here, and they'll gladly take this for food. Okay, that looks manageable. Let's clean this up and take the photo. Then we can talk hunting again. Well, as you can imagine, being featured in a host of box office hits has done wonders for our profile with tourists. Problem is, a lot of the people who come are just here to take a few photos, dump a heap of rubbish, and then leave unceremoniously. So we end up with messes like this one. I'd like to say that we've become the victim of our own success, but that's letting me off the hook. Right, there should be a stand over on the other end of the beach with rubbish bags and a picker. We went to all the trouble of installing these, and they still couldn't be bothered. Looks like they had quite the little feast. These kids would have nightmares if you showed them some of what I've seen out here. Birds with stomachs so full of plastic they can't eat. South Island University. I knew it. Way too many people around here who have never respected this place. You can leave them over by the stand. There, spick and span. You made quick work of it. That's a perfectly usable tent. No sense wasting it. Anyway, I've had enough of this. And we need to ensure that we're attracting the right kinds of tourists, not just day trippers from Christchurch out on their school holidays. It's okay for people to come here and leave no trace, but it'd be better if we could rely on them to help us with our conservation goals. So hunters seem like the natural target audience. Our deer and goat populations need constant culling. And you better believe I've more faith in people who love the wilderness to respect the place than kids up to no good. At the risk of sounding like an old fusspot. Speaking of, let's do what we came to do and grab that photo. Lovely use of lighting. I may have to hire you to help out on my next book project, if I ever finish the current one. There's a lot of theories about where these boulders came from. Volcanic activity, lightning, even aliens. I've heard them all over the years. The boffins will tell you they were formed over 60 million years ago on the sea floor, like pearls. But that's not the whole story. When people first arrived in New Zealand, they took their staple crop with them, kumara, otherwise known as sweet potato. Unfortunately for them, the weather in this part of the country isn't exactly conducive to growing much, and the tubers withered and died. So they sent word to the Polynesian homeland, and a canoe set sail with a hardier crop. But it was caught in an intense storm just off the east coast. Each wave that struck it was so large that it made a new hill. Those are the ones you'll see further inland, and all of the cargo went overboard. And that's what these boulders are. Petrified kumara, eel baskets, calabashes. The canoe itself formed the reef further up. Moral of the story? Things have long shelf lives. A lesson I wish someone had taught those kids. Right, feeling warmed up? Good. It's time for you to show me what you can do. Camera on? Then you should have everything you need. I got Josh to set it up. He told me to tell you that it's state-of-the-art, equipped with Wi-Fi, so any footage you grab is automatically uploaded to our server. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I guess I'll be able to see it on here. No pressure then. There's good hunting in the whole of this area, from up around where you cleared out the props earlier to closer to the beach. Take your pick. But just one thing. We want it to show up nice on camera, so no minnows. Try for something at least 30 kg. The larger the better. Should be no problem for a hotshot like you. No word back from our friends in Hollywood regarding the props, by the way. My guess is that some townie thought it'd be a hoot to grab them for their crib. But I'm not keen on the idea of someone wandering around when we're supposed to be closed to visitors. Anyway, nothing you need to worry about right now. Just focus on those killer shots. you've hit your target. But if it's just a drop, you might have to aim for a follow-up shot. You have got the right weapon and ammo for the job, eh? Looks a little small. Give it another go. You've got time. I'm sure you've come across red deer on your travels before, but I doubt you've seen any that rival the specimens here. Like something out of a fairy tale. They've given me a lot of grief over the years, but I've got to respect their will to survive. You ever made a clean kill with your breath ragged? Didn't think so. What a beaut! And that chase. Gonna make for some great footage. You're living up to your reputation, I'll give you that. A lot of people around here think that hunting's heyday peaked in the 70s and 80s. Back when you'd get scores of daredevils out in helicopters gunning down deer 3 at a time. That's not the done thing anymore, for a whole host of reasons. But these days we need hunters more than ever. And I'm glad I have you on board to help us show the world that. You've got a fan here, Hoa. Josh gave me a hand posting some footage from your hunt to the reserve chat group, and it caught the eye of our resident sharpshooter, Melanie Murphy. Melanie's the one who taught me to hunt. She's retired now, but back in the day she worked out on those helicopters with the best, or worst of them. Tough as nails and with a sharp tongue to boot. We had a bit of a falling out 25 years ago. One of the choppers came down with us in it. That's how I injured my leg. I won't go into it, but we should never have taken off that day, and Melanie knew it. Well, these days we're cordial to each other, but not much else. Anyway, my mum always told me to let bygones be bygones and all that. Melanie's a better hunter than I'll ever be, advanced age notwithstanding. So I do my best to pass on whatever I've learnt from her grutters. You're welcome. Right, back on track. Sorry to ask again, but I need you to do me a favour. No, it's not more cleaning up, don't worry. Head to the outpost I've marked on your hunter mate and I'll explain on the way. Now, I'm not one to criticise people's personal hygiene choices, especially not out here. But if you give off too much of a pong, animals will smell you miles off. Avoid travelling downwind, or try a scent eliminator. Head into the outpost. There shall be a battery pack on the table. I grew up here, just west of the mountain range. We were a small community of outsiders living in sync with nature. No running water and only whatever electricity our generator could provide. People from down in the local town used to call it a hippie commune, but I've never liked the term. It was about sustainable living first and foremost. We weren't just there to not shower and sing Kumbaya all day. So when I say the place is part of me, I mean it. Mum's family can trace their lineage here to the 14th century, and we've accumulated a lot of stories over the years. I'd been meaning to get out there for ages, but then my legs started acting up again. Nice to have the help. Some of those are about an animal that holds a special place in my heart. Pākehā, I mean European settlers, released moose here about 100 years ago, and there haven't been any confirmed sightings since the 1950s. But I swear to you, I saw one when I was little, staring straight at me out of a hazy morning mist. Ever since then, I've been to it serves yet. I don't hold out much hope anymore. But I've got a few trail cameras scattered here and there. Usually just throw up deer herds and the occasional teenager behaving badly, but they're pretty low maintenance. One of them got knocked over and the battery's complete. So I'd like you to switch it out if that's not too much trouble. It's on the way to our next filming destination. Return toward the river. Just a little further up there. Cheers. That should keep it going for another few years. Can you check the other cameras while you're here? Might give you some stalking suggestions, if nothing else. When something shows up on these, 9 times out of 10 it's a stray deer. Between these little fellas and that props list, Christmas has come early this year. our missing props. But who? I don't honestly mind someone getting some use out of them as long as we're not deemed responsible, but that's a big bloody truck. There's no driving of anything larger than an ATV permitted in the reserve. Don't see any tracks, do you? Must have been a few days ago at the earliest. License plate's pretty clear at least. I'll do some detective work and let you know. I don't suppose you packed any swing togs, eh? Well, not to worry. Getting to our next destination involves a bit of spelunking, but a flashlight and some waterproof boots should be all you need. Head to the cave I've marked on your hunter mate. Unless you'd rather climb over those mountains. No? Didn't think so. I've had the best kips of my life out here in the middle of nowhere. If you're just about ready to keel over after a hard day's hunt, or if you're waiting for a certain animal to show up, get some shut-eye. Follow the river west and you'll eventually wind up at the cave mouth. slow right now, but it can still catch you by surprise. Stick to the walls and get that flashlight on. Easy does it. This is why I live here. Go ahead. Get as close as you want. Just don't touch it. See the cracks in the surface? It's limestone, notoriously unstable. These cave paintings aren't going to be here forever, but I've made it my mission to ensure that we do everything we can to keep them around for as long as possible. Kids like Josh need to learn their history, right? It's part of what it means to be human. Knowing you come from something else, someone else. We call it whakapapa. It means genealogy, but also to place in layers. And those layers link us all. Everything ends up in the ground, bird or human or rock or deer. Anyway, that's enough philosophizing from me. Let's get you out of here. I'm sure you've never been so happy to lay your eyes on the wonderful Kiwi weather. Stretch those legs. Nothing like wandering through a damp, cramped cave to give you a new lust for life. Right. I hope you're not too worn out now. More filming's on the table, but first, can I trouble you to take a little detour? Let me explain. The beech trees here form one of the finest examples of native forest in all of New Zealand. In no small part due to the efforts of our resident conservationist Marama. We just had a mast year when they seed like crazy, and this means plenty of food for mice and rats, which in turn means plenty of food for other small pests. Beginning to see the problem? When the rats run out, those small mammals prey on native bird species, the pesky critters. We've used aerial T-80 poisoning to stave off the worst of them. But to slow their reintroduction, we need to get our hands dirty and lay down a few traps ourselves. It's time-sensitive work, and unfortunately, Marama's feeling a bit crook and had to stay home today. Can you take over for her? She's left them in a box near the target site. Conservation here is a constant tit-for-tat against these invasive mammal species. Our only indigenous mammals are 3 types of bats and some marine species. Everything else is a pest to a lesser or greater extent. Sometimes our methods can seem extreme. T-80 poisoning isn't without its naysayers, but it's one of the only tools we have to help protect the uniqueness of this place. Now, hunting helps too. I don't want to go back to the days of the helicopter wars, but having recreational hunters here year-round would go a very long way. The box. 4 should do as long as you cover enough ground. Cutting-edge Kiwi technology, these. Self-resetting and all. That looks like as good a spot as any. Should be simple to set up. Just install the mount and clip the trap body into place. 2 down, 2 to go. The birds will thank you for this. That's all of them. Top-notch conservation work, Airhawk. One final thing. You can take down the 1080 warning sign. Any animals that haven't already kicked the bucket should have metabolized it by now, so it's safe to hunt in the area again. Hold on just a second. Are you seeing what I'm seeing on the ground there? These tracks aren't particularly old, eh? I hadn't expected we'd be able to deter everyone, but it's not exactly an optimal time to go for a stroll in the bush. 1 second, Josh is ringing. Feel like checking out where they lead? Right, sorry about that. Where are they taking you? goats have made themselves a little bit too at home here, if you ask me. Their favourite food is native vegetation. Well, luckily for you, they're slower to flee than deer, if you can reach them. Well, someone was clearly having a bad time of it. Munted, high, both. What's that over there? This looks like it's right out of Resplendent Sword. Surely they didn't. Oh, where? Poor thing, looks like it's been torn to bits. Is that a handmade arrow? And to top it all off, there's heavy rain forecast. Perfect bloody timing. There's an outpost not far. Why don't you take shelter there and see if there's any more clues as to what we're dealing with here? Just as I suspected. Our props burglar. And it looks like they've made a spectacular exit. The stuff from the photograph. What's the appeal of this rubbish? Must have left in a real hurry. Can you put the signs back up at least? Yeah. I think that's as good as you're going to get it looking. Now we know where our pickup truck went. Glad to see the back of it. But look at me talking. You're so tough to death. Get inside and I'll fill you in on what Josh told me. bloody hack job. Please tell me that's not what I think it is. It is. That's where our poor little dear ended up. It must smell vile. Well, someone's been making themselves at home. Right, so I had the nephew track down that license plate number, and our props burglar is none other than a local menace by the name of Gad Barden. He's got a whole social media empire under the moniker of Giraros Blessing. Blogs, YouTube, QuickMez, the works. With exclusive behind-the-scenes shots from on-location movie sets. And guess what? He's resplendent sword mad. Got heaps of photos from all over the reserve up on here. His latest blog entry is quite something. Salutations, followers and friends, blah, blah. Have been out of contact, lost my way in the ever-shifting forests. Foul supper left me ill some nights. 1080 poisoning. He's lucky to be alive, the muppet. Let me send you the link. Usually get Josh to help me out with this. There. Check your hunter, mate. Think he just hallucinated that terrifying creature? He certainly has an overactive imagination, I'll give him that. It's too far inland for a taniwha and not humanoid enough for a Patupaere here. Unless... Anyway, he's an absolute bloody idiot, but I'm glad he's alive. This could have gone so much worse, and it's my own stupid fault for allowing them to film here. I just hate seeing the place disrespected. It's not just the bush, it's my home. I grew up a stone's throw from here. No one's around anymore, but you're welcome to swing by the old house once the filming's wrapped up if you're still in the area. I'll send someone by to clean this up later. Let's get back on track. I'm sure you've seen plenty of fancy castles on your travels, but I guarantee you they're nothing compared to where I'm taking you next. We're going to do some hunting out by Stone Castle Valley, a limestone formation not far from here.